Hi, Bahamas. Good night, good night, good night. Coming to you live from Grand Bahama, C. Allen Johnson, critical thinker. I want to talk to you tonight concerning a little bit more about the grand deception. I ask that if you please take a moment to share the video to overcome Facebook algorithm, where they limit the sharing or spreading of information from persons unless it's violence, something negative, or something of that sort is kind of limited. So please share the videos. This is very specifically for you in Grand Bahama, but more so for you from the wider Bahamas, because as you know, the grand deception is the fact that Grand Bahama is the linchpin to the economic development of the Bahamas, as been expressed by at least the last 5 prime ministers, going back to, is it 5 or is it 4? You have Sir Lyndon Pinland, Perry Gladstone Christie, Hubert Alexander Ingram, Hubert Minnis, and now Mr. Brave Davis. And Grand Bahama uh, uh, will not be developed unless the Bahamas as a whole, as a collective, makes demands for that to happen. And the reason for that is the proper development of Grand Bahama would probably make a few thousand families millionaires, but it would also break the back of the oligarchs as well as the plutocrats, the political class, because Grand Bahama diversifies the power, both the economic power and the political power for all Bahamians. Grand Bahama, which people often refer to as Freeport, which is basically the heart of Grand Bahama, though not the capital. Western Grand Bahama is the capital, but it serves as the linchpin for Freeport, serves the linchpin for the economic development of Grand Bahama. It's where the harbor is where the airport is, etc. But tonight I want to talk to you about one issue that has been happening here in Grand Bahama since Dorian of September 2002 is when we began. No, December 2019. The second of, let me get it correct. The 2nd of September 2019, when the storm, we began to feel the effects of the storm over Grand Bahama, centering over Grand Bahama for the 2nd and the 3rd, bringing devastation to the economics of the Bahamas. Dorian, BPL, and you'll soon find out the Grand Bahama Port Authority has been the detriment to the economic development of the Bahamas, not just Grand Bahama or Freeport, as we often refer to their responsibility. Please share the video. But one of the major issues here on Grand Bahama has been an issue of potable water. Since September of 2019 to around December 13th of 2021, Grand Bahama has been devoid of potable water. We like to thank Polymus, who provide millions of gallons of fresh drinking water over almost 2 years to the residents of Grand Bahama. We like to thank the NGOs from around the world that also provided potable water in various different locations for Grand Bahamians to go to. But that responsibility under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement that we often refer to lies in the responsibility or the remit of the Grand Bahama Port Authority through the Grand Bahama Utility Corporation. Now, a lot of people may not understand exactly what potable water is. Potable has an international legal definition for potability of water. That means you can drink, eat, cook, and bathe with. It's actually it meets a certain a particular health standard for delivery to individuals in the home. And so this is why they have potable water from the pumps and everything in the inner city, as we call them, on New Providence. We have no such thing here in Grand Bahama. A few years back, the responsibility for delivering potable water to all of Grand Bahama was surrendered to the Grand Bahama Port Authority through its affiliate, the Grand Bahama Utility Company. Well, why is water important to the economic development and the impact of Dorian on Grand Bahama? Because for the last 2+ years, the Grand Bahama Utility Company, and by virtue of it, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the silence of the Free National Movement and now the Progressive Liberal Party, has allowed the Grand Bahama Utility Company to pump non-potable drinking water to every residence and business on Grand Bahama. Now, it is bad enough that it was in non-potable water, but it was actually salt water, brackish water that's being pumped. And why this is such a big issue? The Grand Bahama Port Authority came out with an announcement that they were going to begin to deliver water to Grand Bahamas. Mind you, there was no major improvements in it from the solidity and it being damaged in September. But because of the fact that the Grand Bahama Port Authority depends on the utility company for revenue as well as licensees, they needed to basically prop up their weakening economic system. So essentially, they came up with this scheme where they said we're going to start giving 25% discount for non-potable water being pumped into the home. The problem is not the fact that they did that, the fact that there's some things that has been kept secret from the Grand Bahamian people. And that is to the level of damage that has been done to individuals' homes and businesses for the 2 years that salt water was pumped into their home, through their appliances, etc. No one talks about that damage. I want you to pay attention to this truth. The truth is the Grand Bahama Port Authority was not giving anyone a discount. They said they were giving you a 25% discount for non-potable water. The law calls for them to provide potable water. They did not provide potable water, yet they said they was going to begin to charge you the price of water plus a 25% discount. The truth is that the Grand Bahama Port Authority did not give a 25% discount for non-potable water. What they did do is charge you 75% for non-drinkable water. See, you notice the slightness of wording? We can't provide you potable water, so we will give you a discount on it. Well, you're not supposed to charge if the water is non-potable. So instead, they came and said, we'll give you a discount. No, they were not giving us a discount. They were charging us 75% of the normal charge for potable water to give us non-potable water. See the play in words? But during that time, if anyone, and I invite you, if any plumbers around, I invite you to call a plumber and ask him, what would happen if you was to pump salt water or brackish water through your appliances, your water heater, into your tub, through your taps and your piping and everything for 2 straight years? The homes are not designed for salt water or even for brackish water. So there's damages that's been done to appliances. There's damages that's been done to water heaters, washing machines, faucets, toilets. All of these things have been damaged through 2 years of sustained pumping of non-potable water into these homes. So far, no government, previous or current one, has spoke to this reality. I am bringing it to the public forum, and I'm hoping people like ZMS and Eyewitness News and Our TV, the Tribune and the Guardian, etc., would pick this story up and interview myself and others in this community to realize the amount of damage. The damage has been done to people's homes and the millions of dollars. The elements in water heaters in almost 99.99% of homes is probably damaged. You had businesses who had to resort to actually going to well water. Fast food restaurants and stuff had to go to well water just to begin to service their customers. Yet the Grand Bahama Port Authority is acting as if though they did us a favor while giving us millions of dollars of damage to our homes and our businesses. I'm calling upon the powers to be to begin a conversation to assess what damages may have occurred through this neglect by the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the deliberate action of attempting to charge people for non-potable water while doing millions of dollars of damages, and correct this by virtue of reimbursing people for damages that's been done. There has to be some justice in this whole process for their failure. A hurricane in Grand Bahama is nothing new, nor is the disturbance of the water table on Grand Bahama from previous hurricanes. The question then becomes is, why haven't they been prepared for decades of warnings and preparations? There were even studies after the last twin hurricanes that told them the potential of this happening. Yet the Grand Bahama Port Authority did nothing but to milk the Grand Bahama public for revenue for their sustenance while bringing no economic development, no value to Grand Bahamians. I call on the Office of the Prime Minister of Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie for the Minister for Grand Bahama. I call upon the Minister for the Environment. I call upon the Minister for Works. I call upon the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance to convey a committee to answer the Bahamian public, especially businesses, as to whose responsibility the damage for has occurred to their properties should lie. On top of that, you have homeowners who have been billed in the tune of probably millions of dollars for water that did not meet the requirements for them to be billed. At best, this is a good time to do it. The Grand Bahama Port Authority is replacing meters. We will know the starting point because as they replace the meters, you will begin to know where the new meter begin. And if the requirements have been met, that potable waters is now flowing in these things, then let's begin billing them as they put in the new meters. And eliminate any billing from September 1st of 2019 until the new meter is installed. It's the least the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Grand Bahama Utility Company owes the residents of Grand Bahama for the millions of dollars that damage has been done. Repeat, they did not give us a 25% discount for non-potable water. They gave us they charge us 75% of its value. It wasn't a 25% discount, it was 75% of the value for a product we did not get. So Ms. Ginger Moxie, Mr. Philip Brave Davis, Mr. Alfred Says, Mr. Obadiah Welshcombe, and the opposition, Mr. Michael Pintard, Mr. Kwesi Thompson, and Mr. Aram Lewis, we call upon you to act hastily to bring relief to the individuals of Grand Bahama for the damages that's been done to their businesses and to their properties by the Grand Bahama Utility Company, and correct this injustice that has been occurring on Grand Bahama for 2+ years. Again, it was under the regulations, under the potable water definition, the Grand Bahama Port Authority has from September 2019 to December 2021 failed to fulfill their legal obligation of providing potable water to the homes on Grand Bahama, and instead pumped salt water into the homes. We can make an argument for sanitary purposes, but clearly, if you are going to look to profit, then you must also accept liability. And the liability was that you failed to prepare. You failed to have contingency plan, and you're responsible for the benefits that comes from the so-called arrangements that you have, then you should also be responsible for the liabilities. Please, Progressive Labour Party, Free National Movement, and your independent movements. And I want you business people to reach out to me too. 825-9700. 825-9700 for you owners of multi-residence homes who also may suffer damages that you have to replace, the pieces within your toilets. I know people who even run up tremendous water bills, who, because of the salt, deteriorate certain aspect of their homes, and they were not in the homes because they had left the island, and just the salt water sitting there deteriorate the items in their home, and the water leak into their home and other places, and they got a tremendous water bill for that leaking product because they didn't know until they returned the damage to their home for the leaking water, as well as water bill because things corroded. And you know what happens with salt? Just rest metal and other things in salt water and see what happens in a year to 2 years. So Michael Pintard, leader of a major official opposition, Mr. Philip Brave Davis, Prime Minister of the country, Ms. Ginger Moxie, Minister for Grand Bahama, and Mr. Obadiah Welshcombe, Mr. Michael Pintard, I said Michael Pintard, leader for major opposition, Kwesi Thompson, Aram Lewis, and the 5 MPs to please work to resolve this issue. I call on ZNES, I call on Eyewitness News, Our News, the Nassau Guardian, the Tribune, and other medias to please look at this issue in Grand Bahama, look at the merits of my claim, and then bring the actual merits front and back. And I invite the Grand Bahama Utility Company and the Grand Bahama Port Authority to respond to my claim, not in telling us what you think, what you believe, what you hope for, and what you wish for, but actually the evidence to disprove that the salt water would have done any damages to the homes, and not the act of God. Because again, this is a failure of your part. For decades, you have profited. Accept the responsibility for what has happened, and what has happened because of your neglect. No more excuses. Grand Bahamians, we must begin to stick together and demand more. Uh, if you go back in history, you have Sir Lyndon Pinley, you have Hubert Ingram, you have Perry Glasgow Christie, Hubert Minnis, and now Mr. Philip Brave Davis all claim that there can be no economic recovery of the Bahamas or Grand Bahama. But the problem we have is that Grand Bahama is not about Grand Bahamians. If it's to recover the entire Bahamas, Grand Bahama is about all of the Bahamas, all Bahamians, because it is from this threat that you would feed. You've heard me talk about the economic opportunities available for Grand Bahama, and I put to you that if Grand Bahama was to be developed in its economic state, we don't have sufficient people in the Bahamas to service it. But I can put to you that almost every family in the Bahamas would become, or had the potential of becoming millionaires. I already begin to speak to you to a blueprint to show you where 20,000 families can actually do that. I ask you that you tune into my social media platforms. See me, you can find them at Allen, ALLEN, cjohnson.com. I can be reached on WhatsApp at 827-9700. I ask that you share the videos. I ask that you begin to ask, especially those on Grand Bahama, to ask the members of parliament and the senators, James Turner and Kirkland Russell, to please look into this matter for us, and let's have a public discussion as to what has happened over the last 2+ years on Grand Bahama and the damages that has been done to thousands of homes and thousands of businesses, to their equipment. We won't even talk about the health, where people maybe because they couldn't afford to go to the pump or something, they had to drink the water from the tap and boil it or do whatever it is. But it's, again, all of these have effects. Grand Bahama Port Authority, Grand Bahama Utility Company, I invite you to step up to the plate and accept responsibility for your failure to prepare, for your failure to act, for whatever failures that is accountable to you. Because again, in the matter of emergencies, you decided to take your time for your benefits while you are charging people 75% for non-potable water, to then go and try to correct something that in an emergency situation could be corrected in a matter of a month. And we can find it all over the internet that we could have solved this problem. But you are doing it for your financial benefit, not for that of the people for which you held responsibility. I ask you guys to share the video. Share the video so that others can see and others can hear about it. I thank you for joining me. And please follow my platforms at allencjohnson.com, because there'll be more and more of these conversations as to what's now, what's new, and what next about the Bahamas economy. I will be speaking about means of self-empowerment. And the only thing we will need is for government is to pass legislation and get out of our way. They are our employees. They are not our dictators. They are not our managers. They are supposed to be managers of the economy. And we can claim ownership. There's thousands of Bahamians that is unemployed or underemployed. There's thousands of Bahamians that is facing income insecurity, housing insecurity, food insecurity, educational insecurity, and other different things. The solutions that's before us are very simple. There are billions of dollars sitting in the treasury, just and not in the form of cash. And we need not sell a single asset, because they will come to you soon and say, we have to sell this and sell that. Just take Crown Land as an example. When this is finished, I want those of you who understand the conversation of having 2 million or 3 million acres of Crown Land. What I want you to do is consider 50,000 acres of some of the best Crown Land that has a production value. Forget it every year. Just say it has a production value of just $300,000, 50,000 acres. Times 50,000 acres by its production value of $300,000, and you would raise $15 billion. And this age of decentralized finance and fintech, that could be raised in a matter of weeks to solve our national debt. But the problem is, once you do 50,000 acres and you have out of 3 million or more, then you would begin to ask, where's the other 2,950,000? Why can't it be done? 50,000 acres with a value of 300,000 production value, development value, not selling it, in a sovereign wealth trust. I'm going to talk about that because the current prime minister promised that he will create a sovereign wealth trust. Well, if the country's in economic crisis, why hasn't it been done? Why can't it be done now? It can. It just requires the politicians to surrender power to the people as promised. We can make a difference in this country. And so if you want to stick to your political fanaticism or your tribalism, then you will die economically and otherwise. The world is preparing. And when they meet us, they will beat us. This is not about PLP and FNM. This is about Bahamianship. I challenge you, for you fanatics, to don't answer me with what you think, what you believe, and what you heard. I want you to go to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Lands, Mr. Philip Brave Davis, and ask your members of Parliament to, on the record, say that what C. Alan Johnson says cannot be done. Don't tell me what you think, what you believe, what you were told. Find your members of Parliament, whatever constituency you are, and say to him, please, C. Alan Johnson says we have a national debt of $10 billion. He says that the Bahamas government could raise $15 billion instantly to retire the national debt for which we're being taxed to death and to begin the rebuilding of a new Bahamas. We're talking about new schools, new hospitals, new police stations, and new homes. I will tell you how we will attempt to do it without them, but that's only if the majority of us don't stand up and demand that they use our resources for our benefit. But back to the point of this video, please, the Grand Bahama Port Authority has inflicted tremendous economic damage through negligence, through incompetence, and inability over the years to prepare for what is here now. We see what they have done to the economy. They have sit and observed while the government is run around to do what they were called upon to do. We will take our country back, but we must do it as a collective, devoid of political and religious rhetoric, who says God wants us to sit and not enjoy the benefits of the location he gave us so we could go to heaven and be rewarded. My God is not that type of God. My God is the type of God that if he placed you in a place of abundance, it could only mean that you were to partake of it. But prayers alone won't do it. Prayers without work won't do. You could pray all you want to win the lottery, but until you buy a ticket, you never will. It requires prayer without works is dead. It requires us now to work towards building a new and better Bahamas, and it's possible. It's possible with me, it's possible with you, it is possible with us. Thank you, share the video, and encourage your MP to say the things about the possibilities of the new economy can't happen. I want them to say that C. Alan Johnson, with the proper legislation, cannot give away 20,000 homes without charge instead of these government homes. 20,000 homes on 1 acre each, and the homes themselves will become self-funding and the tune of easily $500 to $1,000 a week. No mortgages, no utility bills, and still pay you $500 a week. That's what house. And I'm not talking about a shop. I'm talking about a 2,000 square foot house on a 1 acre lot. I challenge people to say, prove it. I want first to let's begin with the small issues to hold those who have inflicted pain and damage upon us, like the Grand Bahama Port Authority, like the Grand Bahama Utility Company. Hold them accountability. Hold them accountable. It's with accountability that we take back our economy. If we hold our institution accountable, if we hold our members of Parliament accountable, if we hold ourselves accountable, we can take back the Bahamas. It hasn't been taken from us. When I say take back, I mean control. I'm talking about power. I'm talking about influence. $3 trillion a year is made in and through the Bahamas. Listen to me carefully. Forget the GDP of 13 billion. The World Trade Organization says $3 trillion a year is made in the Bahamas. Then why we have so much poverty? In ending, let me say, there's a statement that says, in a nation with so much wealth, poverty is something to be ashamed of. In a nation with so much poverty, wealth is something to be ashamed of. Isn't it a coincidence that we have so much wealth and so much poverty, yet we won't talk about it? We get distracted with dialogues every day rather than building forward. Let's stop being distracted. Share the videos. Go to allencjohnson.com, allencjohnson.com to get my various different platforms. And you can reach out to me on WhatsApp, 825-9700, to ask, what could you do individually to empower yourself? Because it doesn't take money to make money. It's only when money is put with ideas that money multiply. So then you just need to develop your ideas. We have the money, we have the resources, and the trillions of dollars in this country. Let's have a conversation with it. Thank you much, Bahamas. Please share the video. I love you guys. And hold the Grand Bahama Port Authority responsible for the damages they have done to businesses through neglect, not just the water, but of years of neglect, but more specifically the water, for pumping salt water into our homes for 2+ years, pumping salt water into our businesses. And let's hold the government in demand of both the current administration, the former administration, and the current opposition move to have these errors corrected. Thank you once again, Bahamas, for joining me. C. Allen Johnson. I'm out.